Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So a lot of people tend to ask me what do we do if the soil is infested with mealybugs or any kind of insects or fungus. Now guys, this is what I have been doing for a couple of years. This is not something that I started yesterday, but I have always been using my old soil. I never throw the soil out because it contains a lot of sand. It is expensive. Not only about expensive, it's about throwing away the resources which can be reused. Soil never goes bad, it never expires. It tends to lose the fertility in the soil, it tends to lose the nutrients in the soil, but it never goes bad. So what I usually tend to do is if I have a lot of empty pots, or if I have pots wherein the succulents are not planted and the soil has been in the pot for a very long time, I take out the soil and I put it out in afternoon direct sunlight. I keep it for around 2 to 3 days for it to nicely get baked in the afternoon sunlight. After which on the third day or on the fourth day, I move it to the day that I'm going to be using the soil. I move it to the indirect light, and within a couple of hours the soil is going to start to cool down and it's going to be better. Do not use directly the soil from the afternoon sunlight and plant your succulent in that. It is going to damage the roots. You have to let the soil cool. Now this is what I tend to do. Now you can just look at the soil and you will realize that I don't think there is going to be any kind of mealybugs or any kind of insects in this, because one, the soil is not very organic. Apart from that, it has been baked in the afternoon sunlight. So if there are any kind of pathogens or any kind of harmful pests, they are definitely going to die off, or I would say they will definitely get they'll definitely not survive in that heat. So after that I start using this soil mix. But before I start using the soil mix, what I tend to do is I tend to filter it once, because there would be a lot of fine dust in it. There could be a little bit of debris in it, so I tend to kind of filter it. So I'll show you what is the process that I follow. Probably if you have soil like this lying around and if you want to reuse it once again, you can follow these steps. The most important is put the soil out in sun. I've also heard a lot of people they tend to put the soil inside the oven and they bake it. I'm not very sure about it. I don't think I will ever do that by putting the soil inside the oven and bake it. I prefer to keep it out in afternoon direct sunlight, and it has been working out really well for me. So after the soil has been sitting in indirect light, and once the soil is completely cooled down, what I do is I take some of the soil and I add it in to filter it, and I filter as much as I can. And you will be able to see there is going to be just little bit of filtration is more than enough, and you will be able to see there is going to be a lot of the fine dust. Now because this soil has been very old, they moved from one house to another and I hadn't planted anything in them, so the soil was just lying around, and I thought right now when I'm running out of soil, this is the best I can do. Now this fine dust can be used for leaf propagation. You can mix 50% of this and 50% of coco peat and use it for leaf propagation. Or if you're making pots, you can even use this while making pots. You can mix it with grey cement and a little bit of sand, and you'll get a nice brown colored pot, because this does have a lot of brown color in it. So now that our soil is ready, we have filtered everything out. I won't be adding any more of garden soil because this is very old. It already has a lot of garden soil particles in this, so I don't need to use it. It's very loose, it's very porous. So I will be using this directly into the pot. And while I was cleaning the pots, I have collected a lot of these stones, what I usually tend to use at the bottom of my pots. At times I use only one piece, or at times if I'm running low on soil, I tend to use at least 1 inch of these broken pots so that I can reduce the amount of soil in the pot. That is only if I don't have a lot of soil. That's just a small little hack that you can go with. Now I have an old pot over here. I have covered it with the drain hole, and we will start filling up the soil. We're going to first fill it a little bit so that we can anchor the plant, and then I'm going to filter some more. I usually tend to filter the entire soil in one go, but this is just for the video. I'm doing it in the halfway. So I had one of my echeveria. I'll put up the name on the screen. I don't remember what variety it was, but I'll put up the name on the screen. So it was in a plastic container for quite some time. It has been doing quite well. You can see it looks absolutely beautiful. It has been in indirect bright light, hence the colors are missing. So I thought I will do a repotting for this one, because I didn't want to keep it anymore in the plastic container. This was placed earlier when I didn't have much pots. So let me take out the succulent. So now I will clean the root area. You can see, as you can see how the soil tends to fall off. You can see how loose the soil is around the root area, and these are the healthy roots of an echeveria. You can see a lot of brown leaves. We will get rid of them. Beautiful roots, and the succulent looks fresh. There are no mealybugs, which is always something that I look out for. So there are no mealybugs. Now for this succulent, if you want, you can cut off the roots, but because the roots are very small, I'm not going to be doing that. And now I will, even this soil, I will be adding it again and reusing it because there are no mealybugs at all, so I don't need to be worried. Now the most important thing, as I've said this earlier as well, always fill the soil so that your succulent does not settle down. You're going to make a little bit of dent and keep the succulent. Lift the succulent a little bit up and then put the soil around it. And that's about it. We are done with the potting. Now the same thing applies. We will not be watering it right now. Probably after a week we will go ahead and do a watering. Until then, the succulent is going to be kept in indirect but bright light. No exposure to direct sunlight right now. We will let the succulent settle down, just like how we treat our succulent when it tends to come in new. When we buy a new succulent, it's going to be the same process. We're going to keep it in indirect bright light. Probably after, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks, then we will do a very slow introduction to morning direct sunlight. Do not put the succulent out in direct sunlight in one go. It will get burnt. Colors are missing. The succulent will not be able to take in that strong sunlight, so there is a high chance it will get burnt. So we will have to do a slow introduction after a couple of weeks. So that's all about it, guys. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep planting.